I'm 31, I'm unemployed, and this is a realistic day in my life.
Why?
Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. So today we are going to talk more about unemployment climbing in 2025. And yeah, before we go into that, I just wanna say thank you so much. We just recently hit 100 subscribers on this channel, and that is a lot of people. You know, I can't believe it. There are 100 people out there finding, you know, this channel interesting and, you know, wanna stay tuned and listen to what I have to say. So yeah, you know, that means the world to me, and I just want to say thank you so much for that. And yeah, I guess enough talking, and let's get into the video.
I hate when people tell me you need to get a job. I'm trying to get a job. I can't seem to get a job nowhere. You gonna give me a job? You gonna offer me a job? You think I wanna wake up every day broke and not have nothing to do with my life? No, I can't find a job to save my life. Well, unless you're going to offer me a job, shut your mouth and mind your business.
7,200 federal workers applied for unemployment last week. You know, I took notes. Let's talk about it. All right, so the claims are coming from a Department of Labor buried website called the Unemployment Compensation for Federal Workers program. That program only applies when someone loses their job through no fault of their own. And so just 2 weeks ago, there were only 600 claims on their site. Then the government shutdown hit and the number skyrocketed to over 7,000. So it's like 7,224, I think, is the complete number. So that is an over 1,000% increase in layoffs in less than a month.
Yeah, that's a crazy number to see. Over 7,000 people, and you know, we're not talking about like regular average job loss. These are, you know, federal workers, and that is the kind of number you see when the economy is starting to shake a little. You know, things are bad when even people working for the government are losing their job. And the crazy part is, like you say, right, this information was buried on the government website. Like, you really had to dig into this to find this. And, you know, that is not something they would really want to be trending on the front page.
These aren't just the temporary furloughs. These are actual job cuts. So this is the reduction in forces that were happening. I think that some of these are factored in with the stop that the judge did, but we'll get to it. The article mentions it, but it doesn't really give that much detail. So anyway,
you know, when we all first heard about this government shutdown, probably most of us think that it's probably going to be, you know, just a couple of days. But now it seems like, you know, it has been weeks and it's still ongoing, and I'm not sure when this is going to end. And the crazy part is that, you know, most employees not even knowing that they're being laid off because they can't even access the government email. And it sucks, right? Imagine, you know, waking up one day trying to log into your account and just realizing that you don't even work there anymore. And even crazier is that some people still have to show up to work even though they don't get paid during this time. And I really feel for them, you know. Imagine waking up really early in the morning, 5, 6 a.m. in the morning, driving to work, you know, getting stuck in the traffic, and realize that you don't even get paid for that day. And yeah, I just hope that this government shutdown things is going to be over soon so everybody can, you know, go back to normal. So for the next video, it's kind of like a funny skit, and I feel like a lot of people, especially those who are currently looking for a job in 2025, can relate to it. And yeah, let's take a look.
Hey, so how's school been going for you? Oh, I'm not in school. Okay, so where do you work at? I'm actually looking for a job right now. It's tons of jobs out here. How are you not employed? I have applied to a lot of jobs, but nobody's been hiring. How many jobs have you applied to? About 1,000. Okay, well, apply to fast food. Like, they're always hiring. I already applied to fast food. Have you looked on Indeed and LinkedIn? Yes. Did you apply directly from the company's website, and have you talked to the hiring manager? Yes. Use ChatGPT on your resume. I already did that.
Yeah, this conversation right here is so relatable. You know, everyone acts like it's easy just to go get a job, like we're still in 2018 or something, but it's not the same anymore. You know, you can apply to hundreds of jobs online, tweak your resume, you know, do everything right, and still get ghosted. And you know, companies are posting now hiring signs, but half of the time they're not even actively hiring. is, it's all smoke and mirrors for a tax reason, or, to make it seem like they are expanding even though they're not.
Well, what do they usually tell you at the interview? I had 2 interviews and they made it seem like I was a good candidate, but they either didn't call me back or they just rejected me. Well, I just don't understand how you don't have a job. Like, you must not be trying that hard if you don't have a job. So what do you do on a daily basis since you're not working? I apply to jobs. The only thing I could tell you to do is just pray. Pray to God that you will get a job. I already talked to God too.
Yeah, this is happening everywhere. You show up, they smile, they say, we'll be in touch, and then you never hear back. The reality is that a lot of this company froze hiring months ago, but they never pulled down the listing. And with automation, AI screening resume and layoff across industry, regular people just can't catch a break, and even fast food isn't a sure thing anymore. And yeah, that's how bad it's gotten. And yeah, the ending hits hard, right? People are trying. It's not like they are not. They're doing everything they can. And then, when you reach to the point where your only option left is to pray for a job, that's not laziness. That is desperation. And the job market in 2025 is broken, to be honest. People with degrees can't even get a entry-level work, and people with experience can't even get an interviews. And honestly, until wages match the cost of living and companies starting to treat workers like people instead of number, this conversation are going to keep happening.
Something that should be alarming all of us right now is that the long-term unemployment rate, aka the unemployment rate for people who have been out of work and seeking work for 6 months or more, is at 26%. 1 in 4 people who are looking for work for 6 months or more are unemployed, are unsuccessful in finding another form of employment.
Yeah, this is kind of scary, right? Like 1 in 4 people being unemployed over 6 months. At this point, it's not, just bad luck anymore. That sounds more like a full-on crisis. And, these people aren't lazy people either. They're applying, following up, doing interview, networking, everything you're supposed to do, right? But no one seems to calling back. And, you keep hearing that there are plenty of jobs out there, but nobody is getting hired. So the question is, is there actually any job out there? And it honestly feels like the whole system is, broken at this point.
This is absolutely awful. This is absolutely awful. We already know that there is bias when it comes to hiring and recruiting, that companies like to pick people who are already employed. They favor folks who are seeking who are already employed because they do not see them as vulnerable or undesirable. This is so incredibly alarming. People should not be having to send thousands of job applications. People should not have to be long-term unemployed for 6 months or more when they are well into their career, even if they're not, no matter where they are in their career. This is horrible.
And yeah, she's right. Companies really do prefer people who already have a job. There's a saying that, the best time to look for a new job is while you still have a job. And there's this weird stigma that if you are unemployed, something must be wrong with you. Like, maybe you just got laid off. Maybe your company downsized. Maybe you're just taking care of your family. It doesn't really matter. The second they see that, employment gap, they just lose interest. And that mindset makes it almost impossible for good workers to bounce back.
And it's not only the long-term unemployment rate, right? The unemployment rate for recent college grads is incredibly high. It is slowly lowering, but it is still alarmingly high. And we don't have the September jobs report from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, but Carlisle, an investment firm, has said that jobs added right now look to be about 17,000, which is down from 22,000 in August, which was incredibly low and unexpected. It is really hard to be a job seeker in the world of work right now. This market is atrocious.
And what's crazy is that this isn't just hitting one group, right? College grad can't find work. People with experience can't find work either. Even federal workers are getting laid off. And with fewer jobs being added each month, this are only getting worse. You can literally feel how hopeless the market has gotten. Thousands of applications just to get ghosted. It's exhausting, and the job market in 2025 isn't about talent anymore. It seems like it's more about luck.
Okay, so I'm reading an article right now in USA Today about long-term unemployment. Okay, and they're defining long-term unemployment as 6 months or more of unemployment. And they're saying that 1.7 million Americans are considered to be long-term unemployed. And that's 25% of the total unemployment population. So now 25% of unemployed people are considered long-term unemployed.
Yeah, this is actually insane when you think about it. Like 1 out of every 4 unemployed people has been out of work for 6 months or more. And that's why people typically recommend that you have at least 3 to 6 months of an emergency fund built up, just in case for this type of situation. Bills will continue coming in regardless whether you have a job or not. So it's always good to, have some sort of an emergency fund or an investment that you can fall back on, because, this layoff can happen to anybody.
And the article profiled 2 women with 2 very different stories. One is a new grad who got a degree in cybersecurity, okay, and she graduated and she has not been able to find work at all since graduating. So much so that she's already thinking about going back to school for something else. The second woman is someone with like 15-ish years of experience, and she's like a marketing expert, got laid off and still cannot find a job. So the article tells their stories and then gives some economists like thoughts, and they weigh in on what long-term unemployment is doing to people and how companies are now like finally admitting that they have a problem hiring people who are long-term unemployed. So first of all, thank you USA Today for validating everything that I have been saying for years. But second of all, what do we do about this? So if you're unemployed, it's like you have to plan to be unemployed for 6 months or more. I've been telling people, like new friends, family, people who are losing their jobs, I tell them plan for a year. Just plan for a year. What are you going to do for a year financially? How are you going to upskill? And then what jobs are you going to apply for? And give yourself like, what is it called? Milestones, check-in milestones, okay? You're going to give yourself these different check-in points along the way of your unemployment of like, if I make it to 3 months and I don't get a job in this, or this, what is my next step? If I make it to 6 months, how am I, getting by? Am I getting contract work? Am I getting freelance work? Like, what does your plan look like? Make it for 12 months. We can't be hoping that things are gonna get better anymore. And I don't wanna say they won't, because they will. But they're not gonna get better in the job market. Like, the job market is not gonna get better for you. You are gonna get better for you. And the only way you can do that is by having a strategy and a plan, and like waking up in the morning and being honest with yourself about where you are, what you've done and what you're seeing, and then how can you adjust your approach and perspective. Because if articles are finally coming out to define long-term unemployment as a thing, and I've been saying this for years, but if they're finally coming out, just like the ghost job situation, okay, nobody believed it was happening until big publication things published it. Now they're saying long-term unemployment. Now they're validating that people are experiencing this thing where they're applying for unemployment benefits twice. Then you need to come up with a plan and a strategy and just like live in the situation that you're in,
And what's funny is always take big media outlet like the USA Today saying something before people finally believe it. Everyone has been talking about this ghost job mess for years, job posts that companies don't actually plan to fulfill. And it's like, the market looks fine on paper, but, real people are applying for hundreds of jobs and hearing nothing. And recruiter will tell you that, we're looking for someone with recent experience, but, how am I supposed to have experience if, no one is hiring me? It's such a catch-22, right?
And if you think you're having a bad day, this girl right here has been unemployed since July 21st. Only one interview. Worth writing. Thank you.
Yeah, this one is crazy. Only one interview since July 21st. That's months of sending out resume, filling out applications, hoping for a call, and getting almost nothing in return. I mean, think about it, that's months of effort with basically no result. It's exhausting just to imagine being in that position, and honestly, this highlights the huge issue with, the current job market right now. people aren't employed because they're lazy. They're out here grinding non-stop for the most part, and they're applying to dozen of job application, hundred of position, tailoring resume, practicing interview, and still sometimes nothing clicks, right? And it's not a reflection of your skills or your drive or even your worth. It's just the reality of a tough market right now. So for anyone that's watching, feeling frustrated, stuck, or like you are failing, just remember that you are not alone. Sometimes it's not about the effort, it's about timing and luck and circumstances, right? Just keep pushing, keep learning, keep adjusting, but also acknowledge the struggle and just know that the job market is really tough right now. It is okay to feel a little bit of frustration, but just keep pushing, keep your heads up, keep applying, and eventually things will work out for you. I promise.
Hi everybody, I just want to come on here and say that if I get one more email saying that they're going to go ahead and move forward with other candidates that more closely align with their goals, because I just graduated college. I'm applying for entry-level positions. Why do I need 3 to 5 years of experience? If I didn't align with your goals or didn't like your company, I wouldn't have applied.
Yeah, I've seen this one a lot, right? And it just doesn't make sense. You literally just graduated college and you are applying to an entry-level job, and that's what you thought, right? Until they hit you with the classic, you need to have 3 to 5 years of experience. And yeah, it just doesn't make sense, right? People just graduate college and literally that's why they apply for this, entry-level position, thinking that this is where they start their career. But, this company now, they just require so much experience from the start, even though the job title is called entry level X and Y, right? And people just continue getting rejection letter, rejection emails, just start piling up, and it sucks, right? You're trying, right? You are qualified enough to do an entry level role, and it's like the system just built and stacked against you from the start. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for sticking all the way to the end of the video. If you have any other topic that you want me to react to, feel free and drop them down in the comment below. I'm happy to check them out. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.